So mistake number 6 is not harnessing the 3 levels of emotion. This is part of the human transformational psychology system that I already mentioned, but you'll need to know these definitions for what we'll be going over for the next 2 days. So we are going to go more into, as I told the person who asked, we're going to be going into a lot of this over the next 2 days as I actually get into teaching you how to do this with your characters, okay? But we're just going to touch on it lightly today as an introduction. With HTP, there are 3 levels of emotion we want to be harnessing in our stories. If we harness all 3, we pretty much can't help but write a 6-figure story. It's just going to happen naturally as a result of us harnessing these levels. Most stories harness only level 2 and level 1 to a certain extent, and there are certain genres that are better at level 1 especially than others. But almost no one fully harnesses the 3rd level of emotion, and the 3rd level is the one that most directly leads to the catharsis. So yet another reason that so many books have trouble getting sales. They're not harnessing this 3rd level, which means they're not creating a deep enough catharsis, which means their book is not selling very well. Okay, so the first level of emotion is called emotions of the melodrama. These are surface level emotions. They're reactive emotions. They cause adrenaline and they encompass physical sensations. So let me explain what all that means. These are the emotions that I kind of affectionately like to call them soap opera emotions, okay? They're the things that you think about when people are having drama or when they're having melodrama, being melodramatic, that sort of thing. It's the emotions people have when they react to something in the moment. So when they burst out in anger, when they suddenly start to cry, when they get upset about something. I say that those are very reactive things. Like something happens in the moment and we react to it in a big way. Those are emotions of the melodrama. They cause adrenaline. So these, in terms of writing, these are also caused by high octane scenes, action sequences, things like that. When we go and see an action movie and our adrenaline really gets going, those are emotions of the melodrama. Physical sensations I put in because this can be pain or any sensation in the body. It also very specifically encompasses romance and any kind of sexual tension. So when I say that some genres are better at writing emotions of the melodrama than others, I mean romance. Romance writers automatically know how to tap into these emotions and pull their readers in. And it's because these emotions, because they encompass romantic feelings and the physical sensations that come along with romance, it's just part of the romance genre. So they are actually better, romance writers, at doing these emotions than writers of other genres in general. But if you, no matter what the genre you write, can learn to really harness these, then your books will sell just as well as romance books, okay? The second level is emotions of the journey. These are more like everyday emotions. They're emotions caused by the plot. So the character is bopping along, something happens, they have an emotion about it. This is the emotion of the journey, right? Things that happen, that are emotions that pop up due to plot events. And here's the thing. Your reader is reading your book from start to finish, which means that they are present for the character's journey from start to finish, and just being present for that journey creates emotion in the reader. Okay, even if there isn't, any other particular emotions, which there should be, just the fact that you've probably had this experience, have you ever looked back over something that you did? Like say you were trying to accomplish something and you went, wow, I look back to when I first started and look how far I've come. And obviously, if it was your journey, you were there for all the highs and lows and all the times that you struggled, and then when you triumphed and when you failed and then when you tried again, and just being present for that journey creates emotions. That's why I call it emotions of the journey. All right. This, it's the kind of thing that if you can harness these emotions, even if you aren't paying that much attention to the catharsis, you can still create emotion in the reader. Okay, all by yourself, or all by itself, I should say. And then there are the emotions of the catharsis. These are the deep spiritual emotions that deal with the character change that we've already talked about. Okay, so the character is going to change throughout the book. They're going to start somewhere. We're going to have this journey of change, and they're going to transform, usually in the final act, and that creates the catharsis. So we are going to actually learn these. When I teach them inside the Fiction Forge, we learn them in reverse order, and that's because we need to go foundational first. So we actually learn the emotions of the catharsis first. The emotions of the catharsis are used to build the internal arc. This goes through the step-by-step process of human transformational psychology, and that leads to the character change. It includes the character wound for past trauma, the character limiting beliefs, how they move toward or away from those beliefs throughout the course of the story, and ultimately to the character transformation, which happens around the climactic moment, which is what I just said. This process has to happen first because it's foundational, and it is what will cause the reader to feel the deepest, most satisfying catharsis. Then second, we would move to the emotions of the journey, which is largely the plot. But we go through the outward HTP to really harness the day-to-day emotions the character feels, as well as the rising energy of the plot. So when I say that, it just means the way people always talk about plot. You start here, and then you ratchet up tension, ratchet up, ratchet up, ratchet up until you hit the climactic moment, right? And again, just being present and experiencing this journey with the character will cause emotion in the final part of the book for the reader. It's what allows them to empathize with the character and become deeply invested in the outcome of the character's journey. Again, I know these are, this is a lot of information, and these sentences are feeling like a lot probably that I'm saying, but think about that. If you can get the reader invested in the character journey, so in other words, they need to find out what's going to happen, then they will continue through the book. They won't be able to stop reading. They won't be able to put the book down. Okay, this is literally how you craft a page-turning story, where they just have to keep reading until the end. And then finally, we do the emotions of the melodrama last, and that's because these are the surface emotions. So we're going to kind of put them on as sort of icing, if you will. We use these to hook the reader and keep them hooked through the story, because it is the surface emotions, those soap opera emotions. And I don't say soap opera. I say that affectionately, not judgingly. It is those emotions that are going to hook them and keep them hooked. Okay, so they create adrenaline, the physical sensations, they're soap opera-like, and they get the reader's attention. So we would definitely use these for your opening scene, of course, but it's a lot more than that too. You should be using what I call secret reader triggers during every scene and chapter of your story. And secret reader triggers are just the things that are hooking them and that are going to keep their attention as they're reading the book. Okay, it keeps the reader engaged and reading voraciously. And you don't have to change your story to use these, okay? You can certainly add them in wherever you want. If you have a scene that is boring or slow, I'm telling you, this is the fix. But most scenes and stories already have these somewhere in the way that they are put together. You just have to learn to identify them, tease them out, and strengthen them. So this is what I teach inside the Legendary Fiction Forge, among other things. We use these 3 levels of emotion to create a story that readers just can't stop reading, and that manufactures a really powerful catharsis for them. And that means that they will come back to your writing again and again, because they know that you know how to tell a story that makes them feel something. I often say that I write across 4 different genres, and I have a much higher percentage of readers that will follow me from genre to genre than is considered, normal in the industry. Everyone always says, well, some readers will follow you. You're like super, super, super fans, but not that many. I actually have a lot. I'm not saying it's 100% by any means, but it's a lot more than most people have. And why is that? Because even though they may not prefer my other genres, they know my stories make them feel stuff, okay? Plain and simple. So they're willing to read my other genres. I cannot tell you how many reviews I have that start with, I usually don't read this genre, but I love this author, and then they go into the review, okay, all the time. And that it's not to in any way toot my own horn or anything. It's just to show that if you use these techniques and create a story that makes them feel something, they will follow you anywhere. They will buy anything you ever write, okay? I am proof of that. Now, these are the invisible elements of story that I talked about above. Readers usually can't identify all of these. Plenty of readers can identify the hero's journey because it's quite common, but we're going a lot deeper than that, okay? So the readers can't identify them, but when they're present, the reader falls head over heels in love with your story and your characters and the catharsis that you made them feel. And look, I know for a fact, because I am a writer too, so I am you, I have been you, I know that your story is vibrant in your head. I know that you can see and feel your characters and your story really, really clearly, okay? That is the art part of writing fiction. But you have to learn to communicate what is in your head to the reader. And that's the craft part of writing fiction, and it's much harder to learn. We can imagine until the cows come home, but learning to put that on the page that's where the work comes in, right? So harnessing these 3 levels of emotion is what will help you do that. If you aren't using the 3 levels of emotion, I promise you, what you see so vibrantly and clearly in your head is not being put on the page in a way that helps the reader see it as vibrantly and clearly as you do. And most authors don't even realize that, okay? They don't know what they don't know. So instead, we all sit around going, why isn't my book selling? I don't think you can make money this way. Okay, guys, come on now. J.K. Rowling, Stephanie Meyer, Stephen King, Sarah J. Maas. It's most definitely possible to make money this way, and all of your favorite authors that you love to read, who are very popular and highly read, they have mastered these techniques. So not doing so is a mistake that can quite easily be corrected. All right, finally, we have belief alignment to achieve your desires. I'm not going to talk a ton about this only because we won't get into it very much in the workshop. But a belief alignment, it's very much like transformational human psychology. It's sort of PHP adjacent, I guess you could say. So we will be using it or concepts from it to build your character's internal arc. But more importantly, I like to use belief alignment to focus on you, the author, and getting what you want out of your writing career. Belief alignment is synonymous with elements of spirituality, what you might hear called energetics, things like meditation, manifestation, the laws of the universe, all of that. Okay, that's what we're talking about when we talk about belief alignment. It's stuff that's been considered woo-woo for the last 50 years, but it's really not considered that way anymore. This kind of thing has become very mainstream because we can measure it scientifically now. And the more people who try it, the more people realize how well it works. So here's the thing about belief alignment. Human beings are 100% physical and 100% spiritual at the same time. And that means that we have to do the physical things to achieve our goals, which most of us already do, we know that. But we also have to align our spiritual energy toward our goals. And if we do one but not the other, we are still not going to achieve the things we desire. So there are so many ways that authors can use belief alignment to help them in their career. It can be used to increase, words. It can be used to increase your word count per session, to craft your story by tapping into your subconscious mind. That part of that is belief alignment. It can be used to align yourself to book sales and revenue goals. It can help you find the time and the stamina to get your writing done. I mean, just all kinds of things. And if you are struggling, especially with things like finding time and mental energy for something, you need to do a check on your energy because something is probably out of alignment. So that's all I'll say about that for now. But I do think that this is the missing piece for a lot of authors who really are writing high quality stories, who have fixed all the other mistakes I've talked about here and still aren't seeing the sales they want. It's usually an alignment problem. So this is actually relatively simple to fix once you know how, but most people don't know how, therefore they're not fixing it and they don't understand why they're not getting the sales they want. All right. So those are the 7 mistakes. Let's do a quick recap. First of all, let's go over the definitions of six-figure story again. Now that we've gone through all of these, I think that you'll be able to internalize these definitions a little bit more. So a six-figure story is one that sells well and brings you royalties, although it doesn't necessarily have to be 6 figures in royalties. It stands the test of time, right? It lives in your reader's memory, in their mind, in their heart for a long time. And it has the potential to bring in 6 figures due to the fact that it creates a deep catharsis for the reader. That is what a six-figure story is. A soul story. A soul story comes from your unique well of creativity, from your soul or spirit. It is a passion story for you to write, and it is written in a way that will help you connect with the reader by bringing them catharsis. Okay, so you see how all of these things work together? And what I do is I teach you to write a 6-figure story and a soul story. Every story you write should be a 6-figure story and a soul story. I like to think of the 6-figure story definition as kind of applying to what the story itself is. And like I said at the beginning, it's about how well the story is written. The soul story is more about you and how you feel about writing your story and about how you serve your reader by writing that soul story. Okay, so like I said, every story you write should be qualifying as both, and they overlap, but they are slightly different. Here are the 7 mistakes one more time. Not being intentional about your writing. Please be intentional. Thinking that the free online writing advice will help you write a bestseller. Again, that's like eating crumbs from a hamburger bun and thinking it's the same thing as eating a bacon cheeseburger. Not understand why readers really buy books, which is to feel emotions, big emotions in a safe space. Not understanding the invisible and foundational aspects of story. Pantsing without direction or plotting with the conscious mind. Not harnessing all 3 levels of emotion, and not using belief alignment. Okay, so here's the thing. We are going to get into some homework. Now, remember, you got to do all your homework if you want to qualify for the prizes. When it comes to I think I've written that wrong a couple of times. It's transformational human psychology, and I sometimes switch the first two words. Anyway, but when it comes to using that, one thing most authors never think about is why why you want to tell the story. Now, some of you might think, well, duh, of course I know why I want to tell the story. I came up with a story and it's a cool story and I want to tell it, but what? Okay, that's not what I mean. The old-timey psychologists were right about some things, maybe not all things, but some. And one of them is that we have beliefs and sometimes problems in our subconscious mind that by definition we're unaware of because they're in our subconscious mind. And when we bring those beliefs or problems into the conscious mind, we are able to much better address them and solve them. So this is what we're going to be doing today with one aspect of your story. And the number one technique for doing this, especially when it concerns your writing and your story, is, oh, did I skip one? Hold on. No, I didn't. I think I'm missing something. It's called structured journaling, which I do have here at the end. So remember we talked about pantsing, and maybe I do have this on the next. Yeah, I do. Okay. So you're going to journal on the following prompts that I'm going to give you. Remember we talked about pantsing and how it helps you connect to the subconscious mind and help ideas from the subconscious come through. Basically, that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to pretend like you're journaling or you're pantsing, but you're going to journal on specific prompts that I will give you. Now, remember when you do this, there is no right or wrong answer. You're just going to relax your brain, write or type what comes to you and see where it goes. Let the thread of those ideas carry you to wherever they will. You're going to be amazed what you uncover about yourself, your story, and why you want to write this story. So to give you an example, before I give you the prompts, the first time I was taught to do this, we were actually practicing writing premises for story. And it's a little bit like free writing. It's a little bit like, I don't know, you could call it like brainstorming or mind dumping. I mean, all of those are similar. But what we're going to do in our case is that we're going to focus on a specific prompt. But what I was told to do is like literally start with like a pattern that's on the wall and think to yourself, how could that be a story? Maybe that pattern is on the dress of, let's see, who would it be? Maybe a Native American woman, and then just let you don't actually have to write the story, right? I mean, it's just a way of letting your mind be free and bounce around from thing to thing. So you're going to do that with the prompt. You're going to start with the prompt, obviously. So it's a little bit more structured than what I was doing at the time. And you're just going to free write, and you're just going to answer and dump anything and everything that comes to you out onto the page. You can do this with a pen and paper. You can do this, you can type it if you want in a word processor or whatever you use for typing. Doesn't matter, but I want you to journal on these things, okay? These are going to be really, really magical for you. All right, you're going to journal on the following questions. Hold on, I think my computer is freaking out a little bit. Okay, maybe it's okay. Here's what you're going to journal on. How did you first conceive this story? So you're just going to think about how you first came up with the idea for your story. And I know that you may not remember exactly where you were or exactly how you came up with it, especially if you've been thinking about it for a while or for several years. That's fine. Just anything you can remember, put that down. And think about, even if you don't know exactly what time or exactly what event prompted you to first come up with this, write down the ideas you had, and like something like, oh, well, I like the idea of the intersection between this and this, and I wanted to come up with a story where this happened and that happened. Just write down whatever comes, whatever you can about how to answer this question. What experiences brought this story to mind? If you remember any of them, if you remember where you were, something like I was on a bus and I saw this happen and it prompted the idea for a story. And again, if you don't remember exactly how it first started, maybe you've had other experiences since that have helped you add to the story. Again, anything that comes to mind, just go with it. What do you know of your story so far? So you're going to kind of brain dump what you have. So when I asked you at the beginning, several of you said that you're just trying to get your first draft together, or you're kind of all over the place. So you're just going to actually write down everything that you already have so far about your story. And this is really, really helpful because you probably have more than you think you do. But when it's just floating around, bumping into each other, all the ideas in your brain, you don't always know exactly what you have. So you're going to get that all down. What are you trying to say with the story? You're going to kind of think about it thematically. It's like saying, well, what is your point? If you know kind of what's going to happen in the story, then journal on what you're trying to say with the story, or what is your point in writing this.
I don't have a fucking mouse.
Somebody's unmuted. There we go. What do you, the author, or excuse me, why do you, the author, want to tell this story? And then we're going to turn to our characters specifically. Most of these are pretty general to your story, but we are going to be talking about how to create your characters more tomorrow. What do you know of your character, and specifically your protagonist? If you want to do this for more than one character, you can, but at least do it for one, your main protagonist. And try to make some connections. And what I mean by that is, based on what you've already written at this point, what you know of your story, how you conceive the story, what you're trying to say, how does that connect to your character? Try to make some connections between who your character is and what you're trying to say, between what you know your character is going to do and why you want to write the story. I mean, I just want you to start making connections in your own subconscious for why this story is important to you. Okay, so let me give you some examples here. If you don't know hardly anything about your characters because you are someone who conceives the plot first, and you know more about the plot or have a particular scene or event you're writing toward that sparked the idea for the story, then just think about that scene or that plot. I don't want you guys to overthink this and go, well, I don't know that yet about my story, so I can't do that prompt. No. Just whatever part of your story you do know, journal about that. I want you to be able to do this. Envision it in your mind and ask yourself, what kind of character would it make sense to put into that situation, right? Or what kind of character do I envision in this scene? Or what would make sense, or what comes to mind? So you have to understand this. Your intentional contribution to the story, what you want it to be, is more important than you probably realize. This is something, like I said, that most authors never think about or take into account, right? So for today, I just want you to recognize and bring to the forefront what you already know about your character and your story. I get that there are lots of holes, and we'll be hopefully filling some of those in as we go through the workshop, and you'll be tapping into your subconscious mind to find answers and help you fill in those questions. But for today, you probably don't know you don't realize what you already know about your characters. So your job today and tonight, is to figure that out. Write it out, bring what you already know about your characters to the forefront so that it's no longer nebulous and in the back of your mind. And we want it at the forefront before we move forward tomorrow and really start crafting your characters with detail and nuance, okay? So your homework for tonight is obviously to do the journal prompts. You're going to put one of them in the Facebook group. And I'll start a post that says homework 1. You don't have to put them in there. I just put that in there because it's helpful to people sometimes, but you can do your own post. And if you do your own post, just label it homework 1 so that I know what it is. And you can do it either way. It won't work against you for winning the prizes. I just want to see that you've done the homework. And then as a bonus, you can make a second post telling us what your biggest breakthrough from today was, what concept resonated with you the most, light bulb moment, whatever you want. And that's just a bonus though. You can also be something you realized about your character by doing the journaling that you didn't realize before. Just put biggest breakthrough in the group. And this, okay, so this was from my notes from before. This isn't as true as it was. I have in here that whoever has the most interaction, both homework posts and comments, will be in the running for the prize, but we're doing things a little bit differently. Again, this is because I had to recreate these slides and I didn't pull this out of them. But it will definitely help you if you interact on a lot of people's posts, because we're going to be taking in all of your interaction together, but you also mostly just need to do the homework and put it in the group. And let's see. I think I had something else that I wanted you to do, but I don't remember what it was. Okay, well, I'll probably put it in the running for tomorrow because I don't remember what it was today. So for today, just make sure that you put in your homework post, which is just your biggest breakthrough, and put one of your prompts in there. And finally, I do have a meditation for you. It's called the Author Identity Meditation. It will be in the file section of the Facebook group. So here's what I'm going to do, guys. I know it's a little bit confusing because I'm all over the place, and that is not your fault. I'm going to put in the file section of the Facebook group, I will put a little handout that has all the prompts on it so that you can download that if you want it. And that way you'll know what your homework is. I'll make sure and put what the exact homework is for today. And then I will also put the meditation in there. And if I can get the slides together, then I will put the slides there too, so you can download them. So make sure, it'll probably be a little bit later today that they all go in, but check out the file section so that you can get those downloads if you want them. For the meditation, it actually probably won't, will it be a download? It may not be an actual download. It might be more like a link to a Google Drive. But it's something you can listen to just kind of get your creative juices flowing. And I get a lot of people who really love this meditation. If you're new to meditation, all you have to do is pop in your headphones and listen to it. It's just guided. You'll listen to the sound of my voice and envision in your mind what I'm talking about. And this is just really to help you embrace the identity of a fiction author. And I'm gifting this meditation to you as part of my workshop. In my membership, I do new meditations monthly that you can use as they serve you, but this one I'm giving to you, to all the workshop attendees. So do the journal prompts, post to the Facebook group, listen to the meditation. I'll be back tomorrow. See, this is what I mean. I was like copying and pasting from notes as fast as I could. I'm not going to be here at 6 tomorrow. I'm going to be here at the same time at 12. And hopefully my email will be fixed by the end of the day today, and I will send out reminders tomorrow with the link in them. And we're going to start tomorrow crafting characters that jump off the page and into the hearts of your readers. Okay. So before we go, does anybody have any questions, any comments, anything I can help you with? Let me go ahead and stop my share here. Everybody good? Thank you for this. I've had an insightful time. Looking forward to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it too. And I promise I will be a little bit more together tomorrow. All right. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Start getting into your homework, and I will go and what I will do is I will go put the prompts in the Facebook group right now as a post. It won't be a downloadable post, but just so that anybody who wants to can get started on them. And then, yeah, other than that, I will put the rest in there in the next hour or two, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.